Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome in, everybody. Another edition of the TDN Daily podcast. Hope you are all having a fantastic start to your Monday. Hello, Heldy. Hello, Janelle. Sorry that work has cut into your ability to catch these live. We still appreciate you being here. We appreciate you catching these things on demand. Raul, little Cody Rhodes. So, what do you want to talk about? Nothing to talk about. Braden says, good morning, Chris. Wanted to jump in and say hey for the first time in a little bit. What's up, Braden? Hope you're doing well. Hello, Tuttle. Glad that everybody's here. I wish it was under better circumstances to start the week for our guy Raul and for Heldy that we have to have this conversation. What's up, RC? Appreciate y'all being here. I wish we had a prospect to break down today. I wish we were discussing J.J. McCarthy. We are going to do that tomorrow. I actually haven't even gone into the deep dive on him just because I've been so in the weeds on this Jonathan Taylor stuff. And look, we're going to try to do this as fair and as reasonable as we can here on the show. We are not going to get into too hot takey of the waters. We're going to just tell it like it is. We're going to go through all of the information that we know of at this time. We'll talk about what this could potentially look like. We'll discuss what it looks like if Jonathan Taylor were to play someplace else next season, what teams might be on that list. We're going to go through it all here on the show today. So I appreciate everybody being here. In fact, just give me 2 seconds here. We don't have to wait very long here. And I see that you're all here and that you guys want to get started with the show. So we might as well just go to this screen and get things started. There's no reason to wait. And we can start discussing the Jonathan Taylor situation. But a pleasant good morning to you all. Glad that you're all here. Excited that you're all here. And look forward to the conversation and your thoughts. I know I've shared my thoughts both on Twitter about this, arguing with Jets fans. I've shared some thoughts among the Discord community, our TDN Premium Discord community. But now it'll be nice to hear from you all here on the show today. So we'll get started here right now. Press the record button and we can get going. And welcome in to the Monday edition of the TDN Daily podcast. Chris Schubert back with you here once again on the show. Hope you are all having a fantastic start to your week, a fantastic start to your Monday. And we have an interesting one. I don't know if it's going to be a fun one. We have an interesting one in a week in which we are going to have actual football later this week. And we can finally feel things starting to turn towards the season beginning. And we had this big plan of a J.J. McCarthy breakdown here on the show today. The Jonathan Taylor situation emerged throughout the weekend. The trade request, the back and forth between Jonathan Taylor, his agent, Jim Irsay, the Colts, everything that has occurred over the last couple of days has kind of gone front and center in the NFL world. And so that is going to be our focus here today. We plan on getting back to our regularly scheduled prospect breakdowns tomorrow. We'll actually do back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday this week, but felt like this was too big of a story to not discuss here on the show, to share my thoughts, get your thoughts here as well in the live YouTube chat, and we can have this conversation. And when trying to figure out what to do here and how to phrase and frame this conversation, I thought it would be important to pick a starting point of where we think things started to turn. In The Athletic, I have the story up on the other screen. They go through a timeline of how we got to this point. They talk about, Shane Steichen getting hired and comments made by Chris Ballard at the draft and at the combine, all that stuff. That doesn't feel to me at the moment in which this turned. I think if you wanted to pick a non-Colts moment for when this turned and when this became a sour situation in Indianapolis, I think you need to look at the situations that played out with Saquon Barkley and currently still playing out with Josh Jacobs and the Las Vegas Raiders. That is when, at least nationally, at least on a big stage, in a big picture context, we started discussing again. And there have always been rumblings. There have always been brief pockets of time in which we've had this conversation. But the idea of the running back market being underpaid and not getting fair value or not getting dollars at a proportionate level compared to other positions in the National Football League, that became a very, very real conversation, I would say, within the last 4 weeks or so. And so then you add that as the starting off point, and I'm going to read you 2 quotes. I'm going to read you a quote that was made on July 25th, so not that far ago, not that far back in the timeline, from Chris Ballard on the running back market. Again, after everything that's gone down with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. Quote, I mean, look, the market is what the market is. But saying that, like I've always told y'all, you pay good players. You pay guys that are going to help you win regardless of the position. We think very highly of Jonathan. Unfortunately, we didn't have a great season as a team, and he's coming off the injury. But Jonathan is a great player, and he's a great person. So I think that will play out over time and work out the way it should either way. End quote. So you've got that quote. That doesn't scream to me like somebody that's not interested in having Jonathan Taylor back. That doesn't scream to me somebody that is okay moving on from Jonathan Taylor and just resetting at the position. But I can see it in the chat. Heldy says, I'm glad the Colts are finally more hesitant to play less valuable positions. Raul says, and our resident Colts fan, Raul, here on the show, says, to be honest, I would have been willing to pay JT, but apparently his people are asking for money that not only the Colts would not afford, but no other team. And there have been reports of the number being close to $16 million a season, which would be atop the market, beating the current number. And I will tell you what the current number here is in a second. I'll pull it up to give you the exact figure on the top running back position per year. Christian McCaffrey got $16.015 million on a per average. So it would put him in that tier. When McCaffrey signed his deal, it was 4-year, $64 million contract extension with the Panthers back in 2020. Heldy says, I think it's a matter of the team wanting to exercise patience with the new system and injuries, all the while the running backs are done with being patient, understandably so. Yes, so okay. So that's Chris Ballard making comments. And then again, truly where I think this became a Colts problem is the Jim Irsay tweet, the first Jim Irsay tweet that we talked about here on this show, in which he talked about negotiating the CBA, talked about, negotiated in good faith. Now the agents are selling bad faith. And we talked about it on this show, not the messenger for that message. That coming from Jim Irsay, the alarm bells go off and you ask yourself, is there something nefarious? Is this him? Is something else going on behind the scenes? We asked that question here on the show. That was back in 5 days ago, which feels like an eternity ago in this situation. So you have that. You have the response from an Ian Rappaport tweet that said, hope the relationship can get fixed, that says, I doubt it. And we thought, oh, that's bad. That's where we thought the new rock bottom was in this situation. And then we have the one-on-one meeting that occurred, and then it felt like it was the result of that one-on-one meeting because it came out after the fact of that one-on-one meeting concluding that Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade. We then find out that it was actually a trade request from a couple of days ago because they have not exchanged numbers. They have not had talks on a contract extension. And then from that point, from the requesting of the trade, we found out the not passing the physical, being placed on the PUP list, the Colts potentially going down the path of putting him on the non-football injury list, the NFI list, which would then allow them to not pay him and he wouldn't accrue a season. And it has just gotten very, very ugly very, very quickly within the last, I would say, 48 hours or so. So now we sit here on July 31st with all of the information that I just shared, and we now need to chart a course forward. We need to see what this is going to look like. And right now, as we sit in the middle of this, we are in the middle of this situation right now between Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts. As we sit right now, this is a high-stakes game of chicken that both sides are playing. Both sides are pushing each other to the brink. You may think it's fair that Jonathan Taylor's doing that. You may also think it's reasonable that the Colts are doing that because they don't want to pay the $60 million. I'm not even going to weigh in on the reasonability of both sides. But both sides are playing a high-stakes game of chicken. You have Jonathan Taylor reportedly asking for $16 million a season. You have the Colts saying, we're not going to do that. We're going to consider putting you on the NFI from an injury. You have Jonathan Taylor responding and saying, I didn't have a back injury, still don't have a back injury, don't know what they're talking about. It is a high-stakes game of chicken, and both sides are testing this relationship very, very strongly. RC says there's a significant difference between not wanting to pay a running back top-tier money and threatening not to pay him at all in 2023. Agree 100%, and that's where this has the temperature on this has turned up a little bit. Because it's one thing to say we're not going to give you a contract extension to the tune of $16 million like you're asking. It's another thing to say, hey, we're going to put you on the NFI list from a back injury that you suffered all the way back during the offseason, and we're going to threaten to use that to not pay you at all for 2023. You won't be able to accrue a season, so you won't actually be a free agent at the end of this year. We'll have another year of control, and then, oh, by the way, we still got the franchise tag. There's two very different circumstances. And so you'd like to think that there could be a meeting of the minds here, but I don't know if, as we currently sit, there can be a meeting of the minds. I think this is too fresh. I think it's too raw. I think it's too hostile right now for this to become a situation that resolves itself quickly. What are the rules if you put a player on NFI and they say they aren't injured? Well, and I asked this. I asked this in the TDN Premium Discord. And I don't like to toot my own horn because I make a ton of terrible predictions here on this show pretty regularly. I would say I'm probably 50-50 at best. But when the initial stuff started to come out, I said in the TDN Premium Discord, I said, this is going to get ugly. This was before the NFI stuff. This was before the, 16 million, but before all of the recent ugliness of putting him on the NFI list, not paying him for this season, not letting him accrue the year, Taylor responding and saying, I was never hurt, never had a back injury, don't know what you're talking about. Before all that, I said, this is going to get ugly. This is not going to be pretty. Because Jonathan Taylor feels as if, more so than Saquon Barkley and more so than Josh Jacobs, he feels like he is going to be the face of what has become the running back underpay issue in the National Football League. We kind of talked about it with Josh Jacobs. We kind of talked about it with Saquon Barkley. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to become the face of this issue in the National Football League. And so for Taylor B, you say, what are the rules of if they put him on NFI and they say they aren't injured? I mean, I guarantee you, if Jonathan Taylor believes that he is not hurt and does not have a back injury because of an offseason workout, the way the Colts would be claiming, then the NFLPA would be involved. And they would probably file a grievance that the Colts are misappropriating the NFI, and it would have to be investigated by an independent arbiter. And it would play itself out. RC says JT wasn't the face of the issue. He became it when Irsay made those comments. 100%. I don't think Jonathan Taylor has handled this perfectly. And I don't think his agent maybe necessarily has handled this perfectly. But the Irsay comments is what is going to make Jonathan Taylor the face of this. Heldy says, if it was just a discontent presented a few days ago, I think he could have still gotten paid. With the situation as it is now, I don't see it happening. Look, we are in an era of football in 2023. Players request trades all the time. All the time they request trades. Budda Baker, Jonah Williams. People request trades all the time. And then they retract. Austin Eckler wanted out of the Chargers. He's back. He's playing. It's not. So the idea of Jonathan Taylor requesting a trade, it's news. You talk about it, but it's not earth-shattering in 2023 when players are requesting trades all the time. But the trade request, in the grand scheme of the Irsay comments, and not just the original tweet back on the 26th, 27th about the running back situation, but the tweet of, quote, if I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on. We know that. The NFL rolls on. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be a part of it, end quote. Lamar, Tuttle says, requested a trade. Yes. So it's not that. Oh, no, RC, we agree here. Or RC says, I agree with the trade request, but their owners didn't pour gasoline on the statements. Agreed. And that's why this is different. And if it was just a trade request, I don't think we'd be talking about it with this much attention being paid to it. With this being as big of a spectacle as it is, right? But you add the trade request into the comments, into everything that's gone on with this position this offseason. It is just a perfect storm of events that has led us to this moment. Now, we've got a couple of different ways that this can go from this point. There is the idea that he gets traded, which Jim Irsay says, not getting traded now, not getting traded in October, not getting traded ever. Let's for just a second take that cap off and put the cap on that is the Colts would trade Jonathan Taylor. There are a lot of issues trying to figure out what a Jonathan Taylor trade would look like. Here are the issues that I see presenting themselves. It's a one-year rental. Because let me ask the question to everybody sitting in here. Raul, Heldy, RC, Taylor B, Tuttle, Braden, those of you listening at home in the podcast feed, I'm going to ask you this question. This is not a situation that is specific to Jonathan Taylor in the Indianapolis Colts. The running back position overall is vastly underpaid right now. Do you think all of a sudden a team is going to trade for Jonathan Taylor and give him $16 million a season? No. That doesn't seem likely. So if you're trading for him, you're trading for a 1-year rental. And you're trading for a 1-year rental of a guy that wants a new contract. So it's going to become your problem. You're going to be in the same boat that Jim Irsay and the Colts are in. Maybe you'll handle it better. Maybe you won't make the comments that Jim Irsay made, but you will be in the same situation that the Colts currently find themselves in. So that's problem number one with trying to find a trade partner. Problem number two is the trade matching up on the trade compensation, because he's probably not going to be worth a ton because it's a 1-year rental and because the running back position is undervalued right now in the National Football League. Problem number three is find me a plethora of teams where this makes sense. Maybe the Bears. I mentioned the Cowboys behind the scenes to Jamie as a potential option because they like splashiness at times. Maybe the Vikings because they don't have Dalvin Cook. The Dolphins are always going to be a team you're going to throw in the mix here. This is what got me into just heaps of arguments on Twitter over the weekend, specifically on, Saturday night when all this went down. If the New York Jets are going to be interested in hosting Dalvin Cook and interested in adding to the running back room in the win now window that they're in, they should absolutely be calling up the Colts for Jonathan Taylor. No offense, Breece Hall. Sorry, buddy. But Jonathan Taylor available. You're in a win now window. You should be on that list. RC said the Bills. And those are the teams. Those are the teams that we have. And with a player of this caliber being available this late before the season, with this kind of context around it, I don't want to say impossible, and I don't want to say not going to happen. But it feels very, very improbable that a Jonathan Taylor trade will get done before the start of the season. I just don't sit here on July 31st with the calendar about to turn to August and us about to play preseason games that something can get done quick enough to where everybody wins here. I just don't see it. Now, I'm giving myself a little bit of an out where I said I'm not going to call it impossible. I'm just going to say it's improbable. I just don't see it. And then add on top of it the fact that the Colts are uninterested in trading him right now. And if they're going to go down this NFI route with the non-football injury list, which they have not done yet, let me make that clear, then maybe they don't feel a rush. Also, he's on the PUP list right now because he's coming back from the knee injury. So that's the trade situation. That's one of these options. Option number two is these two sides work out a contract extension. I'm going to do another informal poll like I did with the last question. Anybody in the chat right now, anybody listening to this podcast at home, feel very strongly that these two sides are going to come to terms on a long-term contract extension as we sit right now? Now, it doesn't mean we can't get there at some point, but does anybody sit here right now, as we sit end of July, about to start August, feel very strongly that these two sides are going to come to a long-term deal? I know we'd like to see that happen. Raul says, I hope so. Heldy says, no, but I'm not ruling it out. I would agree with that sentiment. But as we sit here right now, that doesn't feel like a very likely option. Is Jonathan Taylor going to sit out the season? That doesn't seem very likely. Le'Veon Bell would tell you that that's probably not a great idea. So let's rank these. Let's rank these in terms of likelihood. And it's weird to say, but I think an extension is the likeliest option here. Because I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to willingly sit out. If he's hurt, different story. I don't think he's going to willingly sit out. I don't think a team is going to make a trade for Jonathan Taylor and pay the money and pay the draft compensation and be able to turn that around in enough time for it to make sense. And so we sit here, end of July, beginning of August, waiting. And to show you how bad it is, I saw this tweet this morning from Ari Miryov, who pointed out something that I thought was really, really insightful, at least for me, to just show you where the situation is at. The Colts once allowed Andrew Luck to keep the entire $24.8 million that they could have recouped after he abruptly retired. To see them go to this measure with Jonathan Taylor is remarkable. This is two sides pissed off at each other with no signs of improvement. And that shows you how bad this has gotten and how toxic this currently is. Taylor B says, if JT were coming off a superb season, then maybe I could see him sitting out a few games, but he kind of has a little to prove this year. Well, he's got to show that he's healthy, right? Because his first 2 years, 1,000 yards, 1,800 yards last year, got close to 1,000 yards last year before he got hurt. So he has a decent enough track record, but I would largely agree, Taylor B, that he's not in a super great situation to where he can sit out in comparison to a Saquon Barkley, who I think could absolutely make that point, and it would be very well heard because he is a lot of what they do. And so we sit here, and I think an extension is the most likely option here because I just don't see – because to me, if we get to the start of the year and Jonathan Taylor is sitting out for one reason or another, I don't think that's good. I think then that tells me that this next month gets even worse and this gets even more toxic. Now, I saw somebody mention it earlier that Jonathan Taylor, Jim Irsay, a very emotional owner, right? Heldley says he's a very emotional owner. He gives response from too much of an involved fan perspective. And I wonder if at some point for Jim, a cooler head can prevail here. And that can be what gets the two sides back to the drawing board, get back to the negotiating table, and they can figure this out. But this is not a great situation. And I feel right now that this could turn on a dime and get worse, or it can turn on a dime and get better. It can go either way. Healthy. The Colts have made it very clear that they want to see how the players up for new deals play under the new system. JT is not the special exception to this. Right. And they can choose to operate this way. But when the running back position has kind of been trampled over the last couple of off seasons, and specifically in this off season, it's going to put that theory to the test. It is going to put that rule, it is going to put that philosophy to the test. Because the running backs don't trust the GMs and the owners right now. And specifically in the Colts case, they want to see more before they choose to go down this road. And I said this in the TDN Premium Discord, I think it was yesterday. Might have been late Saturday night. But the thing that would frustrate me, if I was Raul, if I was you, Healthy, I know for you, the Colts is a secondary fan experience. You have got a very exciting quarterback prospect, who, by the way, just had surgery but appears to be okay on his nose and everything seems to be fine. You've got an exciting head coaching prospect. You've got an exciting 2023 draft class that everyone is raving about. You've got a lot of pieces that this show thinks very highly of. Michael Pittman Jr. being atop that list. We really believe in what the Colts have been putting together. I think Julius Brent's going to be one of the top corners in the division, top corner on the team, going to make a case to be one of the top corners in football. That's what I believe about Julius Brent. Everyone on this show knows how I feel about him. They've got Josh Downs. They've drafted Anthony Richardson. They've got Jonathan Taylor. There should be a lot of buzz. There should be a lot of excitement around this team. And yet it feels like we can't even get close to discussing that right now. That's not even remotely near what is the topic of conversation. RC says there's only one franchise tag and both Pittman Taylor are unrestricted free agents. Well, that's the other thing. But I think I see the Pittman Taylor situation going very similarly, assuming that they can work this out, very similarly to what the Daniel Jones Saquon Barkley situation, where they extend one and they tag the other. They might be able to get it done quicker with Pittman, right? They might be able to, or they might get a Taylor extension done here in the next couple of weeks, and then they just have the franchise tag for Pittman, or they can choose to extend him, right? But I see it going very similarly. Pittman would be crazy to sign an extension now. Wide receivers get paid in free agency. Depends on what they're offering him. I think I largely agree, but if they're giving him an offer that he can't refuse, and it sets himself up for life, how do you not? How do you not go down this road? So those are my thoughts here on the Jonathan Taylor situation. I think it's ugly. My hunch is it gets worse before it gets better, unfortunately. But if I had to power rank the options, I think it's extension, trade, sit out. I think sitting out would be just like the last option. I just don't see it happening. Pittman, Pierce, Downs, and Marvin Harrison Jr. would be such a fire wide receiver. I like that this is the note we're ending the show on. My guy Raul out here just shooting for the stars, baby. Just shooting for the stars with Marvin Harrison Jr. Raul, we missed you, buddy. We're glad that you're back here on the show. I wish it was under better circumstances, but you're ending it here on a great note, discussing that you want Marvin Harrison Jr. on the Indianapolis Colts, going shooting for the stars, big picture. I love it. That's the kind of note that we wanted to end this show on. So that is going to do it for us here on this edition of the show. We are back into prospect mode tomorrow unless anything major happens here with this situation. J.J. McCarthy going to be the subject of conversation. We actually have a full schedule planned for this week. J.J. McCarthy tomorrow, Cam Moore on Wednesday, a to-be-determined episode on Thursday, and then on Friday, I believe we are going to watch Tulane quarterback Michael Pratt. So those are going to be the three quarterbacks this week, and everything else that happens throughout the week we will discuss here as well. But that's going to do it for us here. Please rate, review, subscribe, share the show. We greatly do appreciate it. Join us over on the YouTube side of things. You see how much fun we have over there Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us there. If you can't catch us live, but you want to see the video version of the show, just go over to the Draft Network YouTube channel, click on the live tab. All of the previous shows that we have done here on YouTube are there for you to consume. Leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. You guys know the drill by now. But that is going to do it for us here on the Monday edition of the show. We are back into our prospect breakdowns tomorrow. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Monday. We'll talk with you all later. All right, we're into the post show. I have to address something. I have to address something from Braden, who I don't know if he's still here. He normally jumps in, has his comments, and then goes back to working on the golf course. But he said, Chris, I'm stunned by your immaculate grid strategy when catching up on demand, wasting multiple bullets on one spot. I understand the thought process, but like if I feel like it's an area that I can get an answer in, more so than the others, I'll fire away. Speaking of the immaculate grid, you guys know the drill. We are on a bit of a streak right now. On football, we did very, very well last week, if I remember correctly. We ended Friday with a perfection. So give me a second here. Nope. That's not the button. That's the button. We go over here to this screen, and we open this up. And we go to this. So a little immaculate grid for July 31st here on the show. We've got, look at this. Titans and Rams. Robert Woods, baby. No. Is it going to count? Robert Woods is going to count, right? All right, we're good. Robert Woods, 60%. Hate that for us. Tennessee Titans and a 3,000 passing yard season. Now, we can just say Ryan Tannehill. I'd like us to try to find an answer that would be less percentage. Is Kerry Collins the answer here to get us a higher percentage? Kerry Collins. Hate that for us. I hate that for us. We should have just done what we should have done and put that in there and moved on with our lives. That was me getting greedy. See, that was me getting greedy. So we can't go perfect because I got a little greedy. So we've got the Chargers down here. Let's just do this. 14%. 14% said Drew Brees for the Chargers. Look at us. The Texans and a 3,000. Okay. I don't want to, but okay. Put them in there. Texans, Rams, Chargers, Rams, Texans, Bills, Chargers, Bills. Texans, Bills. Texans, Bills. Chargers, Bills. Titans, Bills. Probably like a backup quarterback that we could put in here. Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes is probably a good one for here. Yes. 7%. Good job, Heldy. I was going to say Justin Houston, but I knew that wasn't right. But it was the JH. It was Jerry Hughes. That was what happened up here. We need a Texan and a Ram. Could have gone Schaub for the Texans. I could have. We need a Charger and a Bill. A Titan and a Bill. Why do I feel like there's a wide receiver that we can put here? Running back that we can put here? Charger and a Ram. Brandon Cooks for the Texans and the Rams. Fantastic. It is going to be a high percentage, but listen, 81%. That's the highest percentage I've ever seen in a guess. 81%. That's fine. We're just trying to... We've only got 2 guesses left, so we're not going to go perfect, but we want to get as many as we can here. We need a Charger and a Ram. And a Charger and a Bill. I feel like we can get one of these. And then we'll see how I do with baseball today. Titan and a Bill. Charger and a Ram. Is there like a linebacker that played for both teams? Why do I feel like there's a linebacker that played for both teams? Oh, folks. This is an answer, isn't it? Hi, Rod. 51%. I kind of felt like we were gonna get one there. What other teams did Verrett play for? Oh, he played for the Rams? Maybe we've only got one guess left. We're not gonna go perfect, but I'd like to go 8 of 9. 8 of 9 would be nice. 8 of 9 would be a good start to the day. Titans, Bills. No Julio Jones. I think of like receivers. I don't know if it's a running back. I'm stun locked. We are completely locked. Oh! Gerald Everett, guys. Gerald Everett. Not Jason Verrett. Gerald Everett. That's an answer. 19%. Good for us. Who was the big player that we missed for the Titans and the Bills that we could have gotten? Ryan Fitzpatrick. That would have been a good one. Eric Weddle. That would have also been a good one. You know, I'm happy with that performance. Now let's see how I do with baseball. A Philly and a Cub. Kyle Schwarber. An A and a Cub. You ready for this? Hold on. I almost went a little. Ready for this? John Lester, my 15%. Thank you very much. Cub and a 3,000 hits in his career. I mean, we're just going to put Ernie Banks down just because I feel like that's I hate that for me. Oh, goodness gracious. A Philly and an MVP. Ryan Howard won an MVP, did he not? An A and an MVP. An MVP and 3,000 hits. You want me to go Cap Anson here? Is that what you want me to do? I'm going to go Cap Anson here, or do you want me to go Cap Anson here? We need an MVP with 3,000 hits. This feels right. That feels correct. An A and an MVP. An A and an MVP. So we're going to put Cap Anson here because Tuttle wants me to put Cap Anson here. 27%. Shout out to you, Tuttle. Raji Davis is going to be the answer for this. And don't ask me why I know that, but that's going to be the answer for that. We need a Philly and an Guardian/Indian. And I'm trying to think. An MVP for the A. Mark McGwire comes to mind. Oh, Jimmy Fox had to have won an MVP. Jimmy Fox had to be an MVP. It's 3% on the Jimmy Fox, baby. Let's go. All right. So we either can pick somebody who had 3,000 career hits for the Guardians/Indians or somebody who played for the Phillies and the Guardians/Indians. And I feel like, wow, that just hits me with the Dave Winfield. Great job, Tuttle. Excellent. Who would have been the best answer here? Cliff Lee. We could have gotten there. So a tie. Here on the Immaculate Grid for July 31st, 2023. You hate to see it. You hate to see that we can't go perfect on either of them. But that's going to do it for us here. Appreciate everyone sticking around for the Immaculate Grid post show. We've got JJ McCarthy tomorrow. We've got Cam Ward on Wednesday. I don't know what we're doing on Thursday. And then we've got Michael Pratt on Friday. So looking forward to those prospect breakdowns. Appreciate every single one of you. Stalemate to match Irsay and Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. But that is going to do it for us here on this edition of the show. Appreciate you all hanging out. Had a great time. It was a fun show. Appreciate all the banter. And I'm really looking forward to our prospect breakdown tomorrow of JJ McCarthy. So looking forward to it. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Monday. and I will speak with you all tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.